episode of Access Granted. I am delighted to have a very good friend. I say a very good friend because we've just discussed how we've known each other for about a decade now.
Yeah.
So Dr. Krishan, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. It's a bit of a different vibe for our audience as well on this podcast today. I know it's all health and well-being. I really want to dig into all your expertise and experience. Sure. So I think to start off with, why don't we just go with your origin story?
Sure. So this is one of those stories that I can make last as long or as little as you want. But when I was 8 years old, it was in Mauritius.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah. I went to my uncle's practice in Mauritius, and it said his initials are the same as mine. And I saw this sign, Dr. K. Ramyead, and I was like, I want to be a doctor. And then through school, I was like looking into medicine, but the more I looked into it, the less I realised it was for me. Then, not knowing anything else was out there, long story short, I came across chiropractic and I thought, wow, I get to do all the medical training, but I can use my hands. Like, I'm not giving people drugs or surgery, and that really worked for me. And then along my training, at seminars, being students, someone was like, let me try some new stuff on you. I was like, we were all experimenting, and it was great. And, someone touched...
You always been that way inclined?
Open-minded. Yeah. Like, I mean, I've got a good... I just want to check I'm not allowed to swear.
You can just be yourself. You want to swear? Comes naturally.
I've got a good bullshit detector.
Okay.
And it's really served me well because it's meant that I've been very fortunate to find some really good teachers along, in martial arts, in health and well-being, in chiropractic, in like the spiritual domains. Like I've been really fortunate. So I've always been open-minded, and if I think someone's got a nugget of something, I'm interested. I'll go and look and learn. So what really blew me away though was I was like, in my 20s, really fit, strong, martial arts, doing smoothies. I thought I was the shit, right? And then someone said, let me try this thing. And they felt my spine and said, you're holding stress. I was like, no, I'm not, I can't be stressed, And they were like, no, Krishan, I was like, no. And they were like, let me do this thing. I was like, oh,
who was this?
This was another chiropractic student.
Okay.
And he touched my spine. And this breath went through my body, and my shoulders relaxed, and he hadn't rubbed them or cracked them, and he just touched me gently. And I was like, and I felt more well afterwards. And I was like, hang on, you were able to know something about me that I didn't know, that I was stressed. You were able to do something, and I feel more well now, even though I wasn't sick before. I was like, what is this? And that basically set me on like the deeper journey once I was in chiropractic to find out, well, how did that happen? Because he got my body to heal and change by doing very little. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here. And then I studied that's network spinal analysis.
So NSA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Go on.
So basically, the simple idea is, and so it's been around for 40 years, researched now in 11 different universities.
Because I find this very difficult to explain to people, right? I've known Dr. Krishan for a long time, and I go, and they're like, what happens when you're there? And I say, well, I sit in a room, I lay in a room with 5 other people, generally, and he touches me in random places. And as I describe that to people, they're like, and then the words come out of my mouth, I'm like, this sounds really fucking dodgy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's not. And I'll tell you what, it's one of my favourite things to do in terms of like resetting myself and having more clarity.
Yes.
So I couldn't recommend you enough.
Thank
you. I would like to know how to describe it better than what I've just said.
So, well, I mean, a lot of what you said is true. I mean, so let's cover the first thing. Healing occurs more effectively in groups than it does if we're on our own. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a sanctity to sometimes having a private, intimate, shared moment with someone you really trust and going somewhere, of course. And if you walk into a room and someone else is healing, there's, we have these cells in our brain, in our heart, in parts of our body called mirror neurons, which means if you're healing and feeling good, my brain mirrors that and goes, oh, that's a good idea. So you can heal just by being near someone else who's healing.
Okay, let's stay with that for a minute. That makes sense to me from the point of view that I definitely believe, although I don't necessarily have the analytical knowledge to back this up yet, is how well connected we all are.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like being around good energy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so look, if I blow it up, if we go to the spiritual domain, we are one. We are all interconnected. That is it's a spiritual fact, I think. If we boil that down, so how do we experience that? Mm-hmm. We have cells in our brain. So right now, the same way a woman knows if a guy is approaching her to ask for the time, Right, exactly. So laughing or if we want more than the time, because her brain is reading his brain, or his brain.
Intuition.
It is. It's just we're designed to connect. You know, the same way we know if a guy is approaching us to fight or not, or a woman, or whatever it is, right? So we have cells we know in our brain and our heart, and we're finding them more and more throughout the body. We'll probably find them everywhere in time. That it's called a mirror neuron. As I'm with you, I'm meant to get in sync with you and know how you're doing. How you are. Like we're designed for that, clearly. So absolutely. And we know that if you walk into a room, we've all experienced this. We know if someone's just had an argument and if it's tense. We know if they're happy. We know if they're in love. We know if they're anxious. Like this isn't new.
This is subconsciously we know this.
We are feeling it.
Yeah.
We're sensing it with our nervous system. So we take advantage of that in well-being. So for example, we'll put a peace lily there, or if you have roses, the smell of roses comes at such a high frequency when it hits the nervous system, it makes you feel good. We'll put the cloths are soft and washed in lavender and sandalwood because you smell those, we feel good. The music we play, so there's all the tone of the paint. Like all of these things are designed so that when we experience them, we start to feel well. So we'll take advantage of as many of those things as we can, and I think ethically we should, right?
Yeah.
So that it boosts someone's well-being experience, but. Absolutely, we're connected.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to that NSA, doing it in groups, that's because there's a real positive to doing group healing, right? Because we are so well connected.
Yeah, Harvard did a study called, I can't remember the name of it, but basically they called it social contagion.
Okay.
Which if you do a therapy in a group, whatever, it doesn't matter what type it is, by the way, you get quicker results and more lasting results, and if I remember correctly, it also will affect other people in your life more. And all they could surmise, this is out of Harvard, is there must be some interconnected web of connection that we're part of.
Okay.
That came out of Harvard. This was, 10, 15 years ago. So yeah, of course. And to me, I've been doing it 15 years. I've been, I've done it more than 100,000 times now at this point in my career. Of course. It's like, of course. And I've heard people say, oh, that person over there moved or made a sound or they did something and I felt it and I felt better. And I watch people connect that way.
How do you get this message around people that are skeptical about this type of stuff?
Sure. Well, I mean...
Because, you could argue that somebody listening, well, this is a bit like woo-woo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I said I've got a good bullshit detector. I mean, and what I mean by that is I've done it myself. I've been a recipient of it now for 15 years. I take care of my children and my family with it. My mother, you know what I mean? It's like I don't waste time on things because life is too short. So I go to the gym because I can see and feel it does me good. I don't go to a Pilates class. No offense to Pilates, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So this is like personal wisdom, right?
Yeah.
So you go and actually experience these things and you can distill whether it actually makes a benefit on you, the individual.
Bingo.
Go try it. If it sounds rah-rah or a bit woo-woo, how about just go try it? It might be for you. Yeah, and then you'll be able to, I guess, distill that in your own experience.
That, and also I tell my audiences, I don't waste my time with things, because if I didn't think it was good, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm not attached to NSA, meaning if something comes out tomorrow that I think can help people more, I'll switch.
Cool.
I'm not it's not fixed in my identity.
No, you want what's best.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure my time is useful, because it's precious.
So at NSA then, you got multiple people in a room. Spoke about the interconnectivity and group healing as being a big benefit. So talk to me about the practice of NSA and what you're actually trying to unlock in people and actually do.
All right. So look, our body is designed to heal and be well. Unless you're 0.0001% of the population that's got a genetic condition, which you're probably aware of, we're genetically programmed for health and well-being. We are designed to be well. Simple concept, if someone can take ayahuasca or ecstasy or a drug and feel amazing, that means there must by definition be a receptor on your cell for whatever that chemical is. So if there's a receptor on your cell, that means we're designed to make that thing. We're designed to feel good. We're designed to be well. We're designed to be inspired and ecstatic and optimistic. So what we want to do is we want to help. In today's world, we get so head heavy and I was explaining earlier that our brain's 2 million years old. So when we get stressed, it thinks fight or run from the tiger. Now, that's very wise, but we don't have tigers anymore. There's a war in Ukraine, or there's COVID, or there's a threat of a recession, or there's your mother-in-law, or there's, or whatever it is, with the stress with your kids, or your work, or your job, or your spouse, right? And so our brain is telling us, beware, there's a threat. And when that happens, we stop paying attention to ourselves. Because our brain is telling us what's out there could threaten your survival. So pay attention there more than in here. Then we lose our innate cues. We lose that cue of, am I thirsty or am I hungry? Do I need to go for a wee? Or, how am I feeling emotionally? What decision should I make? What's the best move in my career? Do I love that person or not? Like, we lose those cues, right? So the first premise
is this where the noise outside is so much and you're being stimulated outside from all these threats that you're not really truly dialing into your own voice?
Yeah, and not only that. And your brain is telling you that's a good idea.
Okay.
Because when we get stressed, that could threaten your survival. Okay. So it makes sense. So first principle with NSA is...
It makes sense to stay alive.
Yes!
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, go ahead.
So this is why, this is what I say that so people have compassion for themselves. Don't judge yourself, but just get this is what's going on, right? So first principle with NSA is, can we get your brain and body to connect? So we take a gentle contact on the spine, send a signal into the brain like, oh my goodness, this stress was appropriate in the car crash, or in the accident, or in the conflict at work, or in the breakup, or in that thing that happened to me at school, or right? And the brain then goes, hang on, I don't need that stress now. And what happens is the brain and body start to talk to each other, and we see this regulation and reorganization start to happen. Then something magic happens. Then the brain can learn, we see the spine breathe, and we see people's spines move, and we undulate, and we see people literally physically regulating their own tension. And then it's like the brain goes, well, if I've got all this tension inside me, it's taking energy to produce that. What if I redirected it somewhere else? And so people start using the tension in their body and their spine and their nervous system to fuel their growth, to fuel their learning. And we see the brain and nervous system literally learn what we call new strategies. We see the spine doing things it never did before. And we can measure this. So you can take someone who's quadriplegic, we've done this in a study, and you touch their spine and it moves. It's like, well, hang on. They're not supposed to be able to move how they're moving. Or Zoe, who you might have known from practice, and she's been on podcasts. Yeah. Cerebral palsy, her brain injury at birth. She's not supposed, her left-hand side of her body is locked. She's not supposed to, to be able to open it. And yet she does when we work on it, and it's staying more open. It's like, the brain and nervous system can learn and upgrade. So in essence, we're upgrading the nervous system.
And that's what NSA and you're helping people unlock, right?
Sure.
You're the teacher that's teaching the brain and the nervous system to work together better.
Absolutely. I mean, and I want it wired into the body and the nervous system. So what I've done with it, I've taken this teaching that I'd learned directly from the guy who created it, I've taken it all in, and now my focus is basically let's clear out stress, let's increase capacity, but I want it wired in and embodied. Like, it's not an idea. Like, I want it in your physiology, so you own it. Ultimately, so that people can cue in, listen to their inner voice, and have the courage to act on it in whatever domain of life. Because I think if people did that, the world would be a different place.
Oh, so true, right? That'd be really, and then what a filling place for you to be to help equip people to. Yeah. So, do you feel like you can equip people to have more courage to follow that voice?
Yeah, I mean, dare I say that's what 15 years of practice is, and my reputation and just what I've helped people do. Yeah, and it's available for all of us. Like, it's just learning.
But is courage a choice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you need the physiology to support it.
Yes.
And that's where we come in, because I want to make sure that your body and your nervous system can hold it and live it and access it when it needs to. But courage is absolutely a choice.
Nice.
Yeah. Good question.
Thanks. Well, I'm getting some coaching here for myself. I'm trying to analytically explain it better to people going forward. Okay. I don't know where to take it next. I'm just going. So, any particular stories of people that you've worked with on this, where you're like, actually, you mentioned the cerebral palsy case. Tony Robbins. Let's talk about Tony Robbins, because you used to look after Tony Robbins, or you've worked with Tony Robbins before, right? I have worked with Tony Robbins.
Yeah, it was. It was a while ago I worked with him, but there's a team of us. So wherever he goes, he gets this care. He's a huge advocate for it, because he's experienced and he's realised that when your nervous system, when it's embodied and you've got access to energy and it's not bound up with energy, that energy can go into your physical body, into your emotions, into your mind, into your higher purpose, into your heart. And these things aren't just ideas, they're embodied experiences. You can access energy, information and wisdom much more efficiently, much more effectively. And so when I worked with him, he did a UPW seminar, and it was, got quite intimate, because sometimes I was in his hotel room at midnight and, working with him. And sometimes it's helping him recover after he's been on stage. Sometimes it's getting him into an amazing place in his body so that when he delivers, like I said, these mirror neurons, we want 13,000 people in the audience mirroring something wonderful.
Well, I guess as a business owner, you want this,
of
right?
course. Well,
culture within your organisation, the people you're around.
Absolutely. So we start with culture. I've done talks in business many times now because of exactly this. You want the culture to be open. You want to be able to be vulnerable. You want to be able to call people on their mistakes. You want to be able to question an idea, or go for a new idea, or just be able to connect with where are we right now. Can we be brutally honest with what's happening?
So in those talks, what you recommend people do?
Okay, so the first thing I want people to get is the idea. I want people to get the idea that all healing, doesn't matter what domain of life, so world according to Krishan, I believe all healing happens when we get honest with where we are and we can acknowledge it.
Okay.
Like, we know it's there, but we could, that kind of fuzzy space between we're kind of aware of something, but we don't.
So is that me sitting here and saying, I suffer with this insecurity and it's holding me back?
Yeah, it could be. Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, great. Because things only scare us in the dark. So once you bring them into the light and you acknowledge them, it's like, okay, it's all of a sudden less scary, and you start to free up energy. Your nervous system's moving. Like, it could be someone's with their financial life going, okay, let's go and look at the accounts. How much money have you got? How much is coming in? How much are you spending?
Yeah.
Are you and just know what are the numbers? Like, just know.
Okay, so not burying your head in the sand.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. That could be in your relationship. Like, how much time and energy am I putting into this person, or my children, or my spouse?
Okay.
It could be your health. It could be any domain of life. But it begins with becoming aware and acknowledging what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
First.
And then, so once they get that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's how it works. And then it's about trusting the people, because I'm not here to be the guy with all the answers, but I can definitely show people the principles that I've discovered work and teach them those. So now all of a sudden people in the business might be going, yeah, there's been something niggling me. I'm like, great, what's niggling you? And it might be, there's this client, or there's this account, or there's this idea, or there's this market situation, and now, okay, great, let's have a look. And you see, this is the thing. People don't realize how wise and intelligent they are. Like, people are geniuses. And genius has been, misused because we think of it as in like mental, intellectual genius. But we have genius within us. Yeah.
And is the reason we're not abstracting that from ourselves because we're so cluttered.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe we don't even know it's there, or it hasn't been encouraged. But so this is what I mean. So when I'm working with people in business, it's just, let's be honest with where you are, and then ask people, what do you think needs to happen? And then if they can just trust themselves enough, breakthroughs happen, because people know, like, people aren't silly, like, they know, but they're too stressed to pay attention and listen, or they don't trust themselves, which could be cultural conditioning, school, parent upbringing, etc. So some of it might be getting them to the principle of becoming aware of what's going on, and it's okay to acknowledge it. Some of it could be physically working with them, getting the stress out, and then it could be encouraging people with coaching to trust that, like, notice the nudges. Like, for example, there's a massive distinction between if we feel shame or guilt.
Okay.
Like, we're meant to feel guilty because that's our way of telling it's our nervous system way of saying, you have missed one of your needs, or you're under threat of missing a need. We need to feel guilt. That's what guilt's supposed to do.
Okay.
Shame makes you feel bad about it.
Okay.
Just
talk me through that.
Sure.
With an example.
So personal example, was tired the other morning, didn't sleep very well. I was super busy right before bed, didn't switch off properly, had lots to do the next day. So I woke up a bit more tired. And then I was that morning with the kids, getting them ready to get out the door, I was just off my game. And when I'm off my game, they feel it. The mirror neurons are working. The connectivity's off slightly. So I'm a bit less tolerant, not quite snappy, but there's an edge. So in the car on the way to school, I'm like, sorry guys, there was an edge this morning. I was tired. Meaning I didn't feel bad about it. It's just, I acknowledged it happened. Like, that's guilt working well. That's like, Krishan, you've got a need to connect. You missed your need. Own it, claim it, say it, done. The shame would be, I'm a bad parent, didn't do a good job. It's like, no, that's not going to help anyone.
No,
and if I go there, my kids are learning, we should feel shame. Let's copy dad, right?
What do you think the emotion is that hold most people back? Do you think it's that?
Okay, this is more nuanced. Okay. So other things. So in my crazy world, when I'm working, I've discovered I'm an innate researcher, meaning I'm working with people. So 100,000 times I've worked on spines now, right? Also, and I don't realize how much I'm picking up information. I've learned this about myself. I pick up information, and I'm listening to what people are saying and how their spine is and what they're doing and all this stuff, right? My point in saying that is that I've realized I'm really studying the energetics of our incarnation, which means who are you supposed to be? What are you here for?
Do you think everyone's got a purpose?
Yes, absolutely, and it's different.
That was you had real conviction with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've seen it so many times, and it's not out of a book. It's in your cellular. You have to get in your body and find it, but it's not. But it wants to be found, right? So it's there. So I think that people have an innate. So I think. Let me try and summarize it. When people take initiative, at least my experience, when I take initiative, the universe shows up with synchronicity. So you've come in one day and gone, Krishan, come and do an interview. Great. I didn't, it was just great. It was just there. Someone else has come in and said, do this. Life just works. I believe life is trying to work for us,
you, yeah.
not to us. Not like to me, against me. So trying to, and then we work for life, right? Mm-hmm. So what I've discovered is that people have a fear around their role in society. And if they don't overcome that, that's what holds them back in their career bit.
Okay.
And it's different for all of us. So mine is the fear of oppression. They're not going to like me. They're going to try and tear me down.
Okay, so you've got a purpose in life, which we've all got, and you're saying that's on a cellular level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for us to find our purpose, there's you want to tune into your intuition, but there will be some blocks that you have to, or hurdles that you have to overcome that are fears, so that you can really live a life in pure congruence, which will generally make you extremely happy and have the right energy.
Absolutely, yeah. And just to accept, we've all got shadows.
Yeah,
it's in all of us.
Yeah,
you're gonna muck up, and that's okay. That's why we're here. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. And so, what I would often say to people is, if they want to identify.
Well, that's interesting in itself, isn't it? Being like, this is okay.
Yeah.
Like even getting around the mindset, being like, of course I'm a human being, and yes, I can.
Exactly.
I'm not perfect. So I don't need to give myself too much of a hard time.
Exactly. So it's as if we were talking before we start. Have things and habits in place that get you in the best state. So set it and forget it. So this morning, I've been up. I've meditated. I've had a cup of coffee and really loved it and enjoyed the experience of the smell and the ritual of making it. I've been to the gym. I've seen. I spent a moment with my kids. I've. You know what I mean? I've put some flowers on my kitchen table because it's going to make the kitchen feel nice when the kids come back. You know what I mean? These things, I spent some time connecting with myself. These things,
like a meditation practice, or
yeah. I just sit and meditate. I got an Indian meditation master, showed me a technique, worked really well, love it. I tried for years, couldn't. So I've just found something that worked. But my point in saying that is, that gives me the buoyancy energetically. So now I can adapt. Now I can respond. So if because life is life. If a curveball comes, I'm in the best state I can be in to
deal
adapt.
with it.
Yeah, and then if I muck up, and tomorrow's a new day.
Nice.
Right?
Do you think how can we improve the culture to make people find their purpose better, in your opinion?
Okay, so I would say they're living it already and don't realise it. Okay. I think it's like your nose. It's so close, you almost don't even know it's there. Okay, so sometimes ask friends and just notice because it's in your it's in your DNA. Literally, it's in your DNA. Again, it's trying to express itself. Our DNA is like coils of light. Okay. When you look at it scientifically, it's amazing. Our DNA is just fascinating. So it's trying to bounce out. It's trying to express itself. So it'll be the things that naturally make you feel good, that you're naturally inclined to, that your friends will ask you for. Things you do without even realising, things you don't even, struggle with, and ask your friends, what is it you think I do well?
Okay, so this point of helping people unlock their purpose, I can do a better job of helping people do that by just asking them those questions. Yeah,
ask questions. Or just ask your friends and family.
Okay.
But you're probably doing it so well you don't even notice.
Okay.
And then the thing is that, I use, other systems of analysis. So, one is, of course, checking the spine and getting the spine working, because then the connection's alive and that innate intelligence is alive and the wisdom can move and you can access it. Another way could be, I do work like looking at astrology charts, or the Gene Keys is a great system and people can look up. I can give you some resources for that. So my point is, like, there are lots of tools out there that help you know yourself and help you kind of look at yourself in these ways to get a sense of, you know, why am I here? But my guess is it's probably things you're doing. Or like, look at the books on your shelf. What are you drawn to? Okay. There's a reason you're drawn to those things. Do you know what I mean? It's
I do.
Yeah.
We've spoken in the past a lot about masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always really enjoyed like sitting around and your take on, I guess, the, you know, you hear a lot of, you know, prominent people talk about like the not necessarily the war on masculinity, the crisis of masculinity currently.
Sure. Yeah.
So what's your take?
Okay. Yes, there is one.
Okay.
I think... So I coach men, I work with men and boys, because there's no cultural training for us. There's no curriculum. So something that me and a colleague are doing and working with, because, so the first thing is that, oh gosh, I could...
Okay, so let's break it down from the very
beginning. Go for it.
Why is there a crisis on masculinity?
Okay, so I think that what it is to be a man has been poorly role modelled, has been, you know, been used abusively, especially with power, and then has been made to be wrong and bad. So then we don't know how to get into our power. Like, is this okay if I do this or not? Right?
Yeah.
And I think.
So I definitely, you know, being a young man, definitely, I think that being more like less assertive and competitive has been kind of something that society has told me is not necessarily a good thing for me to want to like tap into that.
Yeah. So I mean, I call it head, heart, and balls, right? Okay. All three. And what I mean by that is, we've got the cowboy jerk, all balls, wants to fight and his way through everything, right? Everything, like that's the mentality that goes with that. You know, it can be aggressive, it can be assertive, it can be dominating. It's power over, not power with. There's no consideration for the other, but it knows what it's doing, so it kind of brings that, right?
Okay.
And on the other side, you have the new age wimp. It's all heart and all caring. You've probably got a yoga to practice, you know. No offense, I do.
Yeah, no, okay. I like these definitions. This is cool, right? So we've got the cowboy jerk, the balls. We've got the new age
wimp.
New age wimp.
All heart.
All heart. Okay.
Like all heart, but nothing else. And then we get the guys up.
Which is not, when you talk about this with masculinity, is not what women want either.
No. In fact, I've had women say there is nothing less attractive on a man. Quote. Right, because there's no man there.
Yeah.
But then you have too much head. We're not present. We're not engaged. We're not connected to our heart or our balls, and it's just like a head dry. There's no emotion. There's no passion. And the thing is, we need all three. We need the balls to drive the energy up into the heart, so that I'm not just going to fuck you over or fuck my way. Excuse my language. Fuck my way through everything, which is what it does. But take a stand for something. Like, men need to feel enraged about things, so that we can say, I am not tolerating that. My life is going to take a stand for this. I will contribute to this problem in my life with this solution. And it can be in my home, you know, making sure that my children speak respectfully to each other. It could be a massive project out in the world or something in between. It's not about the scale. It's about that inner sense of, I stand for this.
Yeah. And this is what I believe, and I have the courage to say it.
Yes. Now, Andrew Tate, I'll pick on him because...
Very topical. Let's stick
with
that.
Yeah, because there's a lot I don't like, but he is honest about what he believes. So that I respect, actually.
Yeah.
Not what he does or how he does it or what he stands for.
Yeah, no. But you have to respect him as a man, because he's quite happy to say what he believes.
He's balls.
Yeah.
No,
and he's not stupid.
No.
Like,
so balls and head are there, but I don't know about his heart. I don't know the guy, so it's unfair to comment, really. I've got to, own that. But I'm just using him as a pastiche example.
Yeah. But it's interesting, just on that, that where the market, so say men, Jordan Peterson talks about this stuff a lot as well.
Yeah.
So I think both of them are picking up on a sentiment quite clearly where people want to hear that message.
Absolutely.
And this goes back to your original point about having good role models, right?
Yes, exactly. So my thing is, you need all three, head, heart and balls.
Yeah.
And you have to understand, they're not meant
Which one do you think's lacking the most? Sorry to keep cutting over you. Which one do you think's lacking the most in society at the moment from a masculinity perspective? In young men.
Good use of balls.
Good use of balls.
Which is honourable integrity warrior. Not soldier.
Okay.
Not do what I say because I've powered over you. Listen to yourself, know it, act.
Okay.
Yeah, good, with real integrity and real honour. Because if that happens, it has to pull the heart in, and then the head really has to strategize and think about how I'm going to do it. But my main thing is, you have to understand they're meant to pull us in different directions. Because like if you take the heartbeat. if your heart beats perfectly rhythmically, you will die in 2 days. It's meant to be constantly adapting. It's meant to be on its edge of its dynamic range. That's where health is. Health isn't balance in the middle. We have this idea it's not. It's really dynamically adapting on the edge. So the more dynamic range you have, the healthier you are, because the more you can adapt.
Okay.
So we want to understand these are three, they're pulling us in different directions, and we need strategies and tools, and this is what, we're working on in each one of those.
Yep.
And then you need in living your life to make sure you are feeding each area and pulling in from each area and into it creates like a tensegrity. There's like a tight, tense, poised position where it all works together, and that feels amazing.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's what you're striving for, is how do I align and get the three congruent with one another so I can be the best version of myself.
You got it. And it's a triangle. It's not like a nice pretty straight line.
No, it's a triangle with three bands.
Exactly, and it's like in that dance.
So how do I get give me some strategies for getting my head, heart and balls well synchronized.
Okay, so first of all we have to recognize there are three of them, which means, so in the balls it's that courage.
Yeah.
It's that, and it's okay.
Yeah, so I think this is the interesting. That's actually okay, Josh, or that's actually okay, whoever, for you to have that part, because I think that's where the society culturally has probably taken that out of young men.
I mean, look,
and that's where Andrew Tate and say Jordan Peterson are getting a good audience, because people want to hear that message.
They do,
but they want to hear it. Probably it needs to be delivered in a better way, like this.
It's like.
Like, guys, you
can't cut your balls off, guys, right? You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, you can. But my point is,
this podcast is quite interesting. It says definitely a different vibe to you.
But you know what I mean? My point is that because it's been so misused in the past, both men and I think women are now afraid of it. I'm sorry, both. Women obviously, because they've been suppressed with it. Horrific things have been done.
Yeah.
And as men, we need to take account of that, right? But it doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because it's what gives you that.
It's not all bad.
No, it's not. So I would say, guys, it's okay to get angry and feel rage, but it doesn't mean you have to, project it onto someone else. It's not about you being angry at someone else. It's that force is meant to become determination. It's meant to become courage. So it's like, my point is, I look for. So now I've learned, what do I feel angry about? I go towards it, and then I decide. If I keep being angry about it, I need to do something about it. It disheartened me when I see overweight guys who don't look like they have any sex drive or any passion or any desire or any thrill in their career or business or intimacy and passion in their relationships. And I'm like, what the heck? And look, I've learnt this out the hard way. My journey's been like this. So, and I'm like, what's going on? It doesn't have to be this way. Like who taught that?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So to look for what you feel angry about, and just know that means you need to go towards that thing. You need to grab it and say, okay, what am I going to do about it? I'm not going to, moan and piss and bitch around. And get your friend. If you hear me pissing and moaning, call me on it and say, okay, I'm here. I'm not going to make you wrong. Where's it trying to go? And then you're like, okay, got to do something, right? Or you drop it. Then your heart. I mean, there's a lot on that with spiritual practice, and also, I think that's listening to your inner voice and, doing what you need to do. We all know. It's all there. It's not... But having practices that cultivate that. And so some of the energetic embodiment work, so the SRI, the other things that we deliver in practice can really help that, so that it's not just a concept, it's a reality. Meditation. You can go for a walk in nature and feel it. We're designed to feel it. Here's the thing to remember. This is just doing what we're designed to do, but there are no strategies for it. And then our head is about wisdom, really. It's about the king who can see all the different pieces and, how do I rule the kingdom and care for my subjects and consider those I need to consider, and what's the best use of my resources and my time? So it might be that actually that meeting can get cancelled because my kids need the time, or my kids are good, I need to put attention into my queen, or whatever your relationship setup is, or whatever the sexual dynamics are. You know what I mean? It's like really so I would say it then becomes about, using that to go, okay, and make it super simple. So health, exercise, eating, my relationships, have I connected with my loved ones? My spiritual practice, have I done some kind of thing? Like I do a meditation and I look for the insights and then I write them down and then I might live out that. Easy. Then you're living out your own revelation, right? You have an insight from wherever it comes from. You write it down. If it's good, you act on it. It's not hard. And then in your career and business also, like what's my next edge? What am I learning? What am I sharing with people? How am I adding value, right?
Yeah.
And then it just starts to build,
So you mentioned so you're pulling some of this stuff together now for men.
Yeah,
when can we see that, do you reckon?
Good question.
When are you bringing that to the market?
So I should say Luke Brady, who's he'd actually on paper my boss and a good colleague and friend. He literally. So this is interesting. I've been having this idea for years.
So I don't think I've heard somebody articulate it the way that you've articulated it, and I really enjoyed that. I mean,
thank you.
You clearly know yourself and you put in the work. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Luke and I have been talking for ages, and Luke just called me one day. I'm like, Krishan, we have to do this course. I'm like, great. Okay, that's my spark. That's my invitation. And then we've talked a lot about what we're seeing with guys, because being chiropractors, we're on the front lines working with guys and girls and boys, girls, for years now. I'm like, what are we seeing? What's missing?
Yeah, because have you seen? There's a guy that runs a podcast called Modern Wisdom.
Yes.
Come across that guy?
Yeah.
And he's spending all of his time at the moment, from what I can see, into this whole male masculinity, that we're having less sex than ever, and all this birth rates, and this is a really big societal problem that we've got to kind of figure out. And laid in that is your Andrew Tates and these people that are growing big audiences, because definitely guys want to hear this, but going back to role model in a way, like again, giving you props, because I think I haven't heard anyone talk about it in that way.
Thank you. I mean, I think the key is it's refreshing for men, because we all feel it, this desire to like fight and fuck everything, right? However, the thing is, just because that's how it's been role model for 10,000 odd years, doesn't mean that now, with everything we know, that's the only way it can be used. And I think men like it because it's like, yes, I feel that.
Well, I don't think that message is what they've been hearing anymore. That's kind of been, I think it's been more of the, what did you call it, the heart one? What they called?
I called it the New Age wimp.
New Age women. The New Age wimp. I think there's so much of that. That's, so it's like, how do you integrate the ball? How do you integrate that male bit back into society, where kind of people can move forward in a way that's more productive?
It's our drive, it's our courage, it's our focus. You know what I mean? It's the creative force, like creating your business or your career, or creating your relationships, creating your health. Like, go forward with courage and stand for something, and be okay if someone doesn't agree. Like, I hear that, and this is my thing. Especially if it's not culturally acceptable.
Okay. So is there any examples, I guess to put you on the spot, is there any examples in where you're like, actually, this is my point of view on this, where your point of view might not be what the current mainstream would say? Yeah,
well, I mean, I experience that in health a lot. Because so being in alternative or health, people will come, I mean, classic thing is someone says, I've got this symptom, I have to take this medication. I'm like, really? My experience tells me, and let me, here's the caveat. It saves lives. I'm very pleased we have an emergency care medical system in place. Thank goodness. Right? I've taken my kids to hospital. It saves lives. Brilliant. When it comes to health and well-being, getting rid of a symptom does not equal improving health.
Okay.
And nowhere does it claim to be. We've just been trained to think no symptom equals good. Right? But that doesn't mean health is flourishing. And I tell people, you can take a gentle touch on your spine and your body can heal. I see it every day in practice, or have done for 15 years. And then the mind's like, no, but you don't understand. I've got a really serious problem. It needs a really complicated solution. It's like, no, that's just your mind. That's what our mind does. Our mind doesn't want it to be simple, because then we don't procrastinate anymore and we don't overcomplicate, right? Yeah. So that's one. And the other thing is just this message. I'm like, no, guys, it's okay to get angry, but that doesn't mean angry at someone. That's the difference. It doesn't mean power over. It means my own power, and I'm going to go and express it like this, with consideration and care, and with a listening ear. So if someone I care about says, Krishan, you're being an arsehole, or is that really the best you've got, or is that really the best way to do that? I'll be like, take it in board, do my own reflection process, and then off I go again. So
what's Krishan's top 3 habits?
My habits?
Yeah.
So I learnt this in lockdown. Yeah. So meditation for me is like oxygen. When I don't meditate, my experience of life just gets dull. Getting my spine checked, like I feel like it's my secret weapon.
Okay.
And my other habit, what, something I do for myself or with others, or if it's just for me, it'd be exercise. But otherwise, like connecting with others, like genuine, like sharing, expressing, and receiving love. Like if I think of just me before I meet the world, my spine will get checked, it really is my secret weapon. I feel like I have a secret weapon. You know, I'm 42, I had to think about that, and I'm in the gym, and I'm stronger and fitter than some guys 20 years younger than me. And I've got a secret weapon, of course, you know, meditation and then exercise for my own well-being. And then when I'm with, I think the other thing is just connecting with loved ones. You know, I think that's just like fuel, it's oxygen. Yeah.
How often, you got like a routine for that, or is it just making sure you do it daily?
Well, no, I like you asked that question. Yeah, I try and send a message of love and appreciation every day. Was it like
very cool?
Look, we've got the freaking iPhones, right? So I'm like, because this is what like. This
so
is
that's a practice what you'll do in the morning, in the evening, or just making sure you do it once a day.
Done. So like
go on.
So let's drop it. So in terms of health, exercise and have a green smoothie. Why? Because it's super healthy, super easy, and I've had all my vitamins, minerals, greens done, right? In terms of spirituality, meditate, journal. In terms of relationships, express messages of love, and be with my loved ones as much as I can. And in terms of career and business, read or learn something about business and create something, or your career. Easy, right? We could all do that.
Yeah.
That's like 4 things. You know, it's not, you know what I mean? And I say that because, as you know, as Tony Robbins talked about, like complexity is the enemy of execution. Right? If it's difficult, we're not going to do it. So I just make it easy. And then, like now on the way here, I called my mum. You know, haven't spoken to her for a little while. Been meaning to. I thought I've got half an hour in the car. Called her. I spoke to her the whole way. You know what I mean? Just like, let's connect with my mum.
Yeah.
You know.
You're a big fan of gratitude?
Yeah. I mean, I've done gratitude journaling, and
that sounds a bit like the appreciation of people and close family is very similarly aligned.
This is what we were talking about earlier, like set it and forget it. I've done it so much, I notice I do it automatically. Thank you for the car. Oh, thank you for the shoes. Oh, the coffee was amazing. So grateful to be here. Wow, look at that. And also grateful for you. I notice on that, most people are grateful for things outside themselves, like what I just did.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to be grateful for yourself, for your personality, your courage, your character. Like you, I've known you all these years. You're always learning. You genuinely care about other people. You genuinely contribute to other people. Your motive is pure. And how can I help other people succeed and succeed along the way? Like beautiful, you know. So like really make sure you're grateful for yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it goes out. So.
Where would you say we are right now? If I was to ask you, say society in general, where are we?
Approaching a tipping point with a lot of chaos. Okay. Like, I think we've got an interesting 20 years coming up. I was just saying this to Spencer earlier. You know, we're going to see massive economic changes, political changes, social changes, gender changes, relationship changes, right? Like it's an exciting time to be alive. You know, if you want certainty, you know, like that's going out the window. Like we have an energy. I think, you see, when I see crisis, okay, it can be devastating for people. It really can. So let's not make light
Lay it down, yeah.
But it's the point. It's like this is what happens in health with symptoms. Ow, my back's sore. That means stop, pay attention, and change it. I mean, something is not working, and your body very cleverly has brought the symptom to your attention so that you change. It's like this is why we couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together. Humpty Dumpty was now meant to be a hash brown, an omelette, you know, a potato salad, right? Mash, you know. The point is that the point of the story is you can't go back to how it was before, because what's before brought you to where we are, and where we are isn't working. So I see reorganization. I mean, there is a potential for a quantum leap in human beings of evolution and technology and how we treat the environment and how we treat each other and masculinity, yes. And that's why I'm so into that, because if we can get into our own core and be who we really are and listen to ourselves, we've got a chance of acting it out. You know, and if we don't, no.
Yeah, I could agree more. I think it really feels like that to me. I always lean on the, I guess, the metaphor of like fourth industrial revolution, right?
Yeah.
Every industrial revolution in history, the society's changed dramatically, both socially and economically. And I kind of feel like we're definitely just about to set sail on that chaotic storm. And I kind of think about business people like a ship, right? I want to make sure that I'm taking my ship in a direction that helps people navigate this next decade or 2 decades.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something around humans being way more connected to themselves and one another.
Yes.
Right? Isolation, anxiety. Not going to serve us well at all. And actually, that's the thing that we crave the most. Going back to a lot of these conversations.
Look at how lockdown felt.
Yeah. Horrible, right?
Yeah.
Like, So I think there's that part of it, us being more connected, being more productive.
Yep.
You know, we're creating less people at the moment, so like actually we're going to need to be more productive to generate growth. And then you've got the advent of so much new technology that promises to make it a fairer society. You know, the promise of these things is to make it fairer and quicker and cheaper and smarter. So it's like, how do we integrate all of these things together over a decade or two so that we come out that side of the storm, I guess, with a way better world for all of us.
Yeah, sure.
And I think also laying into that perfect storm is also this masculine, you know, whether it's masculinity or even how we can continue to be progressive, but also, you know, maintain some level of reality so we can all kind of go on the journey together. Or even civility, right?
Yeah, sure.
How can we bring together people that are polarized on so much of these topics, where we can all sit around a table and be like, look, we're all still team human. Like, do you know what I mean?
I love that.
Like, we're on the same team over
great.
it. So like, how can we
I'm gonna use that.
how can we navigate this together whilst respectfully disagreeing?
So let's riff back to masculinity. So, because I went very hardcore, I think one of the keys is to take the gender out of it. And I don't want to get into the gender debate. What I mean by that is, I really love this idea of a chalice and a blade, a receptivity and a penetration.
This reminds me of Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, in a way.
He does that.
Yeah. There's a great book by Rianne Eisler called The Chalice and the Blade, it's called. Okay. Surprise. No, but fascinating research into our history and how we've looked at it through a male lens and therefore have missed things, or a penetrative lens. My point is this. If we take the gender out of it, so when I start my day, when I go to meditation, I'm in chalice, I'm in receptive mode. I'm actually in a more feminine state. So that when I go to my more penetrative masculine mode in the world, I'm doing it having listened first. Otherwise, the beast that is Krishan gets going, and that can be, not always, can be a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So my point is, so to answer your question, we're talking about an evolution of human consciousness. We're talking about people understanding we are all one, we're all connected. We share a planet, we share resources, okay? And if we can get into that receptivity more, and I talk about that because when societies historically have been more focused on the goddess and the life-giving processes of nature, and we know this historically by looking at artwork, painting on caves, etc. We were more peaceful. We shared better. You know, like life was more equal, more fair. Was just better. We flourished. You know, so I think that time is coming, and you can look at history. We always swing between these two poles. So we have this chance now to bring them together and integrate. Can we have both? So that's really what the work with men is about, is can we listen and act, you know, and be okay with what we listen to inside. It's okay, like we said, you know, so, and then, like you said, team human, like, and if we can, because if I can listen to my inner voice and I can really connect with you, we got a chance, you know, I can hear you, you know, and not just my own story.
Yeah, this really then leads me into, do we then, because I believe in all that stuff, and that's the way that we're going to have to navigate to move forward. Yeah. I do have complete faith in the human spirit, because we've done it up until this point anyway. Like, you know, we're great creatures. We're built that way up. You know, I think it's, you know, so I have complete faith. I think it's then, do you have enough leaders in the world that can lead us in that direction? And what actually breaks my heart a little bit is, through COVID, I super felt like it didn't feel with too much confidence in like leadership generally. Yeah. But I'm still super optimistic and stuff.
So I mean, look, we've got and
that's just one man's point of view, right?
But I think you're speaking to something valid, which is why we're here, which is why we're both doing what we're doing in the world, because we want people to rise, we want people to get connected and rise and lead themselves, their families, their friends, their communities, or to be involved in those movements, you know, because that's what's going to bring the benevolence and the generosity and the raise in human spirit. Like it feels good when we're all feeling good and well.
Yeah,
you know? Like, it doesn't feel good when people are suffering. You know, like none of us like it. You know, no. So but I think the way to get there is it's a rise in human consciousness.
Okay.
You know, it's a big task. But it's a task we're wired for.
Do you think we're getting any help on that journey? Just to go super out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so my experience of life is that we're never without teachers. If you look for wisdom and inspiration, you'll find it. If you look for crap, you'll find it. You know, so let's bring it back to the spine. And our brain and spine nervous system is a filtering system. if you look around this room for red, you'll find red. And then if you look at me and I say, what's blue? You'll be like, yeah, it'll be more difficult, right? Because you weren't looking for it. So, and also we know you can't observe something without participating energetically. Mm-hmm. So observe and participate with what you'd like to see more of. But do we have help? Absolutely. Is it on the planet and off the planet? Yes, I believe so. That's my experience of life. You know, on, off, in the planet, everywhere. You know, and just in each other, like in common, like it's there, like it's there, and it wants to be found. If it, you know, so it's, look, seek and you'll find, right?
Seek and you will find. That's
Someone said that a while ago.
Man, that's probably a really nice way to wrap up.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to say, I really, in terms of inspiration and encouragement and being a great teacher, I really appreciate everything you've imparted on me or being around you and stuff like that. You're a top guy, and I've always benefited greatly by being in your presence. Thanks for doing this today. You know, it's nice to just shoot the breeze on these types of topics and bring a different flavour to the podcast. My final question to you is, with all of our guests, you get 3 guests dead or alive for a dinner party. Who would you pick?
Oh, you know what? I've been thinking. Because you sent that to me in the email, and I've been like, who would I choose? I've been like, really, like, you know. And I think that, so I've got a couple of people come to mind, but I think the main thing is, and this speaks to what, this is actually quite a nice completion segue back to the beginning, is I'm looking for people who've got qualities that I want to rub off on me. So it's not about teach me this thing. So I'd love to sit with Gandhi and have food or watch him do his laundry, because the way we do anything is pretty much how we do everything, right? And there will just be a transference that will occur. There'll be something about him that I don't expect, because here's a guy who got an army to leave with no violence, you know, right? And I'd be like, how on God's earth do you do it? How do you persist? Like, you know, what's driving it? Like, what I want to get, and it wouldn't be, he could talk to me, that would be great. But there'd just be something transferred by being in his presence. Rosa Parks, here's a woman of colour who says, no, I'm not going to go to the back of the bus. You're like, you know, her life could have been threatened, and yet she still did it. I'd be like, tell me, sweetheart, you know, what happened in that moment? Can you break it down for me? Like, literally, like. And I'd want to see her. Like I said, I want to see her do a laundry. I want to see how she eats and how she uses her cutlery. I know this sounds silly, but there are clues in how we are that tell you so much about a person. And I'd want to drink those. I'd be like, you know, and you know, I could think of a million other people, but that's what I'd be after. I'd be after, like, you know,
for that to rub off on you. That piece of it sounds like the.
You know, and maybe I'd probably also pick. I haven't got someone specific in mind, but a really out there kid. Like, what do you see that I don't see? Because as someone who's a generation in front of me, like, what are you seeing? Because I'm already in our generation, right? Like, what are you seeing? Like, because you're seeing a complete, like, my kids walk up to things and start touching them because they assume it's a screen, right? I should be able to just tell it what to do.
Well, this is the other challenge in that whole, like, that shift of, you know, higher consciousness going forward is we've got, like, 4 or 5 different generations cohabitating planet Earth on different on different times of the technology life cycle.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So how do you all communicate when your environment's been so different and move together? That's
and
another
the pace
challenge.
of it's increasing, you know? Yeah, it is. And this is why you're nervous.
So seeing it from a like Gen Z's perspective as well as a boomers and kind of being like, okay, I see the lens through which you see the world.
Yeah, I mean, my kids are already saying things like my. You know,
I like how strategic you've been with your guests, by the way.
Yeah, you know, I know, but
I didn't expect anything less. From
No. But you know what? That last one came now. Like, I deliberately didn't force myself to have the right answer. I was like, let me just see what drops in, because my kids are already saying things like, why do we even have like paper money? Like, why do we have money? How does the money work? How is it shared? How does, you know, what's behind it? Like, and they're like, is that really working? I'm like, well, interesting that you should say it. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
You know, like, how do we get the food? Like, hang on, you know, like they're like starting to think, well, if we keep doing that, that's not going to work.
No.
So, you know,
this is where I think the older generations discount the energy with the younger generations being like, from a money perspective. When you got something like the advent of Bitcoin, where it's all like digital, transfer it quickly. And then, you know, you've got the older, well, it doesn't really mean much. It's just, through those different perspectives, the shift that we're going to have to take over this next decade.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is, and I think it humbles you to listen to the new generation because they call you on stuff because they can see it and they haven't been conditioned yet. They're like, why are you doing that? It's like, you know what? Yeah, we're using too much plastic. You're right. Or, you know, if we keep driving cars this way, you know, like there's a guy who goes to my gym who's the security guard for an energy project, and they're able to make cars run on water. You know, and this is an initiative that's brewing and it's getting investment. You know, and it's just like, of course, that makes so much more sense. You know, like it's like, and I'm telling my kids this stuff because I want them to know this is, you know, and then they go and run with it into all these directions that I couldn't even think of because their minds haven't become rigid yet. The nervous system hasn't locked in yet. It's still so formative and exciting, you know. So yeah, I would do that.
Exciting times.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Very much. Krishan, again, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone tuning in. And keep smashing it. Until next time, Bizpedia out. And
as ever, if I can support any of your members, just let me know. You know, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Thanks.
Right, take care, buddy.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.